It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State on this Thursday. And this is a conversation that we've been working on for quite some time now. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome here to the studio Tim Murph the Surf Murphy. He's got his book, One Man Crime Spree, The Secret Seven. So secret, don't know who the other six are, but they're coming. And we are just going to hear this story here. It's actually in the works for a Netflix special. Tim, good to see you. Welcome. Appreciate it very, very much.
Oh, thank you, Joel. I really appreciate it. You know, I really love the city of Erie. Born and bred here till the time maybe I was about 27 or so. And actually, my 50-year high school academy reunion is next week.
Are you coming down for it?
Absolutely. Go Lions. You know, bicentennial. We had the best year, you know. Yeah. So, but really, that's sort of where my story begins. In 1976, sitting in Academy High School, 2 months away from trying to graduate by the skin of my teeth, and sitting in class, it comes over the PA system, is Tim Murphy in that classroom? Well, send him down. Principal Don DiNardo, who knew me quite well and my family. And I I'm like, oh man, what did I do now? And I come walking down to his office and I peek in, and my grandmother is sitting there. Now, my grandmother has no parental rights to me whatsoever, should not be there. And she sees me and she goes, yep, that's him, and I need him right now. And Don DiNardo, who was very, very connected at the time, he said, I'm writing the pass out right now, Mrs. Murphy. So he signs me out, and I had to drive her gold Cadillac convertible. My grandmother was known as the $1 Million Baby in Erie, Pennsylvania, back to the date of Prohibition with her and my grandfather. And the root of all these stories comes from that ride from Erie, Pennsylvania to Ashtabula, Ohio, to actually bail my father out of a DUI at the time. And Grandma Murphy was going to make sure he had a plastic injection shop in Akron, Ohio.
Wow.
And he actually had a meeting with Lee Iacocca that day because he made all the interior molds for the Chrysler Cordoba at the time.
My goodness.
And Grandma Murphy was not going to let him miss this meeting. So on this ride from Erie to Ashtabula, she would drive her gold Cadillac all around the city of Erie, because if she ever got pulled over, one cop would give her a ride home, the other cop would drive her car home. And that's just many times. But she would not drive her car on the highway, because my father was actually flew off the USS Enterprise, and this is all documented in the book, was shot down adrift in the ocean off Japan during World War II. So
he was flying a plane off of the aircraft carrier.
Yep.
Wow.
And one night we're sitting in Akron, Ohio. He was teaching me. I was an apprenticeship for a machinist with him, and he pulled out a photo of 30 guys on the deck of the USS Enterprise. 13 of them had a number underneath their head. On the back of the picture had the men's name and how they died, all on the same night. My father was the only survivor. They brought him back. This is all documented. They brought him back. He was in Navy Hospital in San Diego. And while he was there, he saw two orderlies he thought was abusing one of the patients. And my dad flipped and nearly killed the both of them. And they were and my grandmother drove her Cadillac from Erie, Pennsylvania to the Naval Hospital in California. Wow. And bailed my father out and brought him back. And I showed you the picture in the book when he's back here in Erie receiving the naval the naval bar. Wow. So during this ride, Grandma Murphy tells me Grandpa Murphy had his tugboat at the foot of State Street, 4 blocks away here. Every Sunday morning after church, my father would bring us down, and Grandpa Murphy would have his tugboat where the little toot is. And we would all go see Grandpa on the tugboat, and then we'd go play on the Niagara and dry dock.
Oh, you're right. At the time, sure.
And but she said, Grandpa Murphy, he modified his tugboat. He put an extra gear set in so he could kick all the low-end power to high-end speed, and he could go from Presque Isle to Long Point, Canada, and back in a night full of top-shelf Canadian whiskey.
So this is in the 20s, right?
This is during Prohibition.
Prohibition,
Prohibition, Grandma and Grandpa Murphy basically ran this city. My older brother, who did all the genealogy for me in the book, he said, do you know what Grandma and Grandpa Murphy's payroll was back then? I said, no. He goes, $300 or $400 a week. And like that really didn't impress me from my background of being a professional jewel thief later in life. But he goes, are you crazy? He goes, back then an Irish cop made $5 a week and a city councilman made $10 a week, and they had them all on the payroll. And so she said, Grandpa Murphy would make a run or two a week, and she goes, every time he'd come back, he'd give me a little bit of the money, and she goes, I would roll it up in a coffee can. And she goes, this one week, he made a run every night of the week and came back the last night and gave me all the money, which was very unusual, she said. She goes, he said he had to go get a loaf of bread. She goes, I didn't see him for a year. He took he took off across the Great Lakes. I got a professional photos of him in 1927 in Chicago. He actually had sang with the Chicago Philharmonic Orchestra at the time, great Irish tenor. But I believe Al Capone brought him to modify his tugboats.
Oh, my goodness.
So
that's an incredible story.
Yeah, so she says a year later, she's walking up State Street, a block away from her. She's walking by the corner of 4th and State, which used to be a speakeasy. She said she hears an Irish minstrel playing piano and singing Irish tunes. She recognizes his voice instantly. She goes, no, this is a day and age when a respectable woman wouldn't be caught dead in a place like this. I marched right in and dragged him out by his ear. She goes, she's dragging him out. She said she dragged him across Perry Square. An Irish cop hears the commotion, comes upon them, and says, oh, I see you have things well in hand tonight, Mrs. Murphy. So you'll be going home tonight, eh, Patty? Because they both had him on the payroll.
Wow.
She said she brought him home, and a year later, my father was born. And but through this, I graduated by the skin of my teeth in 1976. Yeah. She passed away in 1979.
Wow.
During that 3-year period, at least half a dozen times I went up to her. I said, hey, Graham, could I borrow some money? She goes, don't tell your father. She would reach behind picture frames, out of underneath carpets, out from pillow cushions. She would pull out brand new $100 bill, 1927 issue.
Oh, my goodness.
Silver certificates, never been bent because she rolled her money in coffee cans. True story. Those bills are worth 10 grand a piece today.
Yeah.
I would get an ounce of dope and a keg of beer and throw a kegger up at Academy.
Wow. Oh my God.
True story.
Amazing. I want to kind of time this correctly. So I'm feeling like maybe this is a good moment to take the break and see what's the next, what's the next season, post high school for you, as you talk about this book, One Man's Crime Spree, and Tim Murphy is our guest. Murph the Surf. Got to ask you about the surf part here, but stay with us. It's Talk Erie. Tim Murphy is our guest here on Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're learning a bit about his life and his book, One Man Crime Spree. And Tim, this is available Amazon and all that, right?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Okay,
and
awesome.
you can go to my webpage, onemacrimespree.com. No
right.
spaces, and there are links to a lot of information about Erie actually on that page.
Neat. Let's pick up where you left off here. You graduated in '76 from Academy High School. Those, when you were 18, those were pretty big times for you, including right up to your grandmother's funeral in '79, right?
Correct. And when my grandmother passed, at her funeral, every Irish hoodlum, Italian mafioso, Irish cop, and city councilman was at her funeral. And I'm standing at her casket, and I hear a voice behind me say, "Oh, I love the old gal." And I turn around, and there's this man I know maybe since 10 years old or so, friend of the family. I'm just going to call him JR for here. But he was a mastermind, master thief, genius. And he knew I was an 18-year-old kid doing stupid kid stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes to me, "Kid, I don't recommend this for a lifetime." He goes, "But if you're going to do this, you're going to do this right." He goes, "Until they got these, kid, my fingerprints."
Yes.
He goes, "You're a virgin." He goes, "Until they got these, you belong to me." He goes, "Monday morning, I need a driver. You come over to my house and drive my Cadillac for me," because my high school job here in Erie was I worked at the limousine rental right across the street from my mother's house and watched 13 Cadillac limousines and hearse. And many of my friends from Academy will attest to the fact of me borrowing a limousine every now and then and taking 9 or 10 of my best friends out for a ride. So, but he said, "You come and pick me up." I ended up driving him from coast to coast for almost 7 years.
Is that right?
He used to say, "Wake me up in Pittsburgh, wake me up in Cleveland, wake me up in Buffalo, wake me up in Chicago, wake me up in Detroit." And I would. And he was a master thief. And he was notorious. And he was from Lackawanna, New York originally. He got so notorious in the Buffalo area, he had to move to Erie, Pennsylvania. He taught me. I got so notorious, I had to move up to Buffalo.
Explain to listeners, and again, I think you get a little bit of this from Judge DiPaolo's book, about the Ash Wednesday. There was a significant crime undertow in the 70s and 80s in Erie. I don't think we can relate to that in 2026.
You really can. It was a different world, and you could not do what we did back then. But going back to the time of Prohibition, Erie was declared a neutral city between Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Buffalo, basically 100 miles away from both. And the agreement was if any one city tried to come and take over, the other two would come against it. And that's why Erie was always sort of a laissez-faire. But the most control was out of the Magadino families, out of Niagara Falls and Buffalo. And that's who JR was associated with. And he was originally sent down here to make sure all the gambling receipts got kicked up. And
numbers games.
Oh, numbers, everything. This was a rolling little city. And the other side to this city was, if you ever got too hot in any of those cities, you would come to Erie to lay low, because it was a lay low city and you had a great beach, and you would not believe the number of people that stayed. Is it the Richmond or Richford Hotel?
Yeah.
Right? You would not believe the notorious people that stayed in that hotel over the years.
Like right here across the street.
Absolutely. I mean, this little stretch of State Street is incredible, the history that came on it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Again, going back to books, right? I think it was Judge Brabender talked about, this being Skid Row and the stabbings behind our buildings.
oh, yeah.
I mean,
Erie was a rough and tumble little town back then.
Yeah.
Believe
Wow.
me, you had
Wow.
to hold your own.
All right, so just as a kid, as an 18, 19-year-old kid, you're like, what? This is a job. I'm just getting a job.
Well, you know what? The real turning point in my life, I was always a little bit smarter than the average bear, and maybe too smart for my own good. But really, my goal was I was going to go in the Navy, and before I went in the Navy, my brother told me, he goes, "What you want to do is you want to be a postman." I said, "A postman?" He goes, "Yeah, because when you're on ship, you not only control the mail, you control the paychecks." He goes, electricians make sure your air conditioning works, cooks serve you steaks, believe me. And you could do 20 years in the Navy, retire. I was going to go in at 17, retire at 37. And then you could come back, and if you return to your same zip code, if there was anybody in the post office that had less than 20 years seniority, you could bump them.
Wow.
And you could do another 20 years in the post office and retire at 57. You could be a double dipper for
right.
But I wanted to be a postman, and when they sat down and I'm signing that, they shipped me up to Buffalo. I'm ready to sign the papers, and I said I want to be a postman. They go, but you qualified in the top 2 percentile of all people that take this test. You qualify for the nuclear program, and they wanted me to take. They wanted me to commit to 6 years in the nuclear program, Well, 2 years of that was in a sub, and I didn't think I could do 2 years in a confined space.
Yeah.
Well, the county of Erie and the state of New York taught me otherwise, because I am a 3-time career felon in 2 different states.
Wow.
And I did not go to college till I went to, I did 32 credits in Attica, pulled a perfect 4.0.
Wow.
And one of my professors says, you better test this guy. And they ended up segregating me from general population because they didn't want me teaching them anything. But I was taught by one of the best. JR was one of the best safe crackers in the United States throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Wow.
And the title Murph the Surf is I am not the original Murph the Surf. The original Murph the Surf was Jack Rowland Murphy, stole the Star of India Sapphire in 1963.
Wow.
But JR was in Rikers Island with the original Murph the Surf. And one night, JR and I were doing a score here. We were robbing a tool to drill a safe the next night. And we were going in, and it was, he said, oh, don't worry, there's no alarms in here. And I go in, I see some wires. I know there's an alarm. Make a long story short, did not go as planned.
Right.
But I got the magnetic base bucks drill that I needed. And when I came in, I started cursing at JR, and he was just laughing his butt off at me, And he goes, you know what, kid? He goes, you're the new Murph the Surf. He goes, I was in with the original Murph the Surf. He goes, you're the new Murph the Surf. So that's how I got the title, right?
Yeah,
and One Man Crime Spree actually comes from Judge Penny Wolfgang when she sentenced me to Attica the 3rd time. I was sentenced here twice in Erie, and I decided it was time to leave then. But she was sentencing me, and she looked at my FBI jacket, and she said, Mr. Murphy, on paper, you appear to be a one-man crime spree.
Wow.
I hope you brought your toothbrush with you today, Mr. Murphy, because you're going to be needing it where I'm sending you.
Wow.
3.5 to 7 to Attica.
Well, I was going to say, was that the only state time that you did?
Yes,
you
in New
did
York
county
State.
time here.
County time here. I decided it was real easy being a big fish in a small pond, and it was time to get out of Dodge.
And that was before they built the new jail.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was attached to the courthouse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
My gosh. I got to take my bottom of the hour break. We found out the story of Murph the Surf. I thought it was a disc jockey that you were emulating, because I'm sure there's one of them. We're talking to Tim Murphy here. The name of the book is One Man Crime Spree. We're hearing the story of an Erie native, and then how redemption comes and how it all happens. We're going to learn that after the news. It's Talk Erie. We've got Tim Murphy with us here live on our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. The name of his book is One Man Crime Spree, and we're we're hearing the story of a Erie native who definitely was fully involved in the underworld, but has come out and experienced amazing redemption. But we do want to hear some more of these stories here. Again, you're just this young kid. That's what kills me, Tim, is 18, 19, 20, 21.
Those are the formative years.
Were you strong? Like, did you?
You know what? I never thought of myself as a tough kid. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was a little bit sharper than most. And believe me, I went looking for the life because didn't have the greatest of childhoods. So went looking for something else, and I found it. And believe me, these people don't go looking for you. You got to be looking for it. But then if they see something, they take you under your wing. And as I said, JR was one of the best safe crackers. The last thing he went to prison for was masterminding a $3.2 million armored car robbery, 1982 Royal Oak, Michigan, outside of Detroit.
They actually pulled it off?
Oh, they pulled it off. And they got away with the money for a couple years, but then the money was gone.
Yeah.
I don't know who they were. I didn't know those days, but it was a heck of a summer, Joel.
Yeah.
And I was just along for the ride. And that was the original name of the book.
Right, just along for the ride.
Along for the ride.
That might be too much of blaming somebody else.
Right, exactly.
As opposed to what the judge called you.
Exactly. And believe me, Joel, I take full accountability for everything I've done for my life. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I don't regret anything in my life. We never really hurt people financially, but never, but I believe everything in my life was necessary because I met my late wife while I was in prison, and she was coming and visiting me for months before she told me she had a little boy. And she said, he's a special little boy. I said, oh, they're all special. She goes, no, he's very special. He's 4 years old. He's got cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. And I said, well, where is he? She goes, don't worry. He's at home watching TV. I said, you get home and take care of it. She goes, don't worry. He's being very well taken care of. I said, I want to meet him. She goes, well, how are we going to do that in there, here? And JR always used to say, kid, you're a thinker. That's why you're on the team. He goes, in 2 weeks, the European American Committee in the Joint, which was the New York City Italian Dago boys that I was tied up with, had control of the prison yard to throw an Italian American Day picnic in the Joint. I said, you bring him up to that. And she brought him up and rolled him in the prison yard. And I picked him up. And when I picked him up out of the chair, I said, how are you guys making it? She goes, well, we're really not. I started paying her rent from in the Joint.
Wow.
But me and my son do evangelize. I have spoken in churches over the years telling my life story and stuff. But we recently, like last November, spoke in our home church back in Lakeview, New York. And he blew me away because he's very intelligent. And I had the microphone, and he said, I knew when you lifted me out of that chair, you were going to be my dad.
Wow.
And I said, I'm glad you did, because I didn't know. But let me tell you, God has a sense of humor. Yeah. Oh, you think you're a tough guy, Murph the Surf? Yeah. Try this on for 40 years.
Wow.
And really, that's the only reason I flew under the radar for 40 years, created a total legal career as a control systems engineer for Dunlop Tire, General Motors Corporation, Delphi Corporation.
So how long was, like, when you say the one-man crime spree, when did that judge hand that down? And what did you do that got you caught, I guess.
Well, it was really my life of crime was probably less than 10 years.
Okay.
It was
still quite a bit of time.
Yeah, the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And because you could not do what we did, because I learned alarm systems, I learned scanners.
Wow.
But what I was trying to get out of Erie, and I got caught up in Buffalo, New York, with a hot car wired with a police radio into the power of the car, which made it a felony. I had a 25 automatic with a barrel threaded for a silencer. They didn't like that too much. Mm-mm. And so they decided to make an example of me. Well, I deserved it. You know what I mean? But really, I'll tell you what, Joel, I can tell you this honestly. Prison saved my life.
Yeah.
Because not only did I do all this, I ran a lot of drugs. I say sometimes when I speak in churches, I've got a mansion in my left arm. I've got a Rolls Royce in my right arm. Tens of thousands of dollars in my veins.
Yeah.
And but for the grace of God do I live.
Wow.
And that is the truth, because but for that I would be dead or doing life. And but for that young man who I still take care of now, he's 45 years old. I built him a summer home in Canada, handicap accessible, stretch limo golf cart that I can put his wheelchair on and go right down.
Yeah.
So there is a flip side to Murph the Surf.
I just help me with this. We talk a lot about the prison system and re-entry. And again, you had somebody waiting for you. You met your wife coming out. You had a child that you would raise. Again, it was going to be a total change. Absolutely. But in Attica, was there rehabilitation? I mean, you took classes, right? I was very. And how old were you at that time?
I was very fortunate. I think I was probably about 27 at the time.
So literally,
and so I
years.
could probably appreciate education a little bit, But I started taking courses and started pulling a 4.0. And I was like, wow. If I got the time, I could do this.
Wow.
So I started doing it, and I'm truly grateful for it. And then when I got out, I ended up getting a 2-year degree for robotics and automation, which this is 1986. It was really on the leading edge.
Yes.
I was at the right time at the right place. Ended up getting hired into Dunlop Tire Corporation as a electrical engineer with only a 2-year degree. But I knew servo motors, I knew PLCs, I knew programming. And they said they didn't care what my degree was. They go, you knew what they needed to know.
Yes.
And all of us Murphys, our God-given talent we are self-made engineers. We can take anything apart, fix anything, figure
kind of right down
out.
to Granddad souping up the boat.
Absolutely.
Wow.
He figured that, he engineered an extra gear train in there. And Grandma Murphy was the brains of the operation.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Wow.
If she came in and sat in a bar here on State Street, you better have a BV and Coke sitting on the rail before she sat on that stool, or the owner would hear about it, and she had them all on speed dial. And of course, I didn't have cell phones.
Right. That's so incredible. And so literally, you walked away. I mean, you walked away from a life of crime, and really, you hear about you can never leave, some folks.
Well,
but you were able to turn that away, huh?
Well, there's never any made family in Erie, so I wasn't walking away, and I'm Irish anyway, so I can never be made.
Yeah.
But I did. I had to make the decision. I knew if I returned to Erie, Pennsylvania, I would have hit the revolving door.
Okay.
And I did not.
So you changed venue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond here. I had to go up to Buffalo, with a little bit bigger pond.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
I had all of JR's old connections. And that was really the reason I always had always had a guy.
Wow.
And a lot of people think the life is all about the money, but let me tell you the truth of it. It's all about favors. You never want to owe anybody a favor because you don't know what they're going to call in. And that was a lesson taught to me by my grandmother. She said, you know what? If you can ever give anybody a hand up in life and you can afford it, she goes, do it. And she goes, never call in that loan until you really need it. And she goes, but always leave them with this: take care of your family. And she goes, believe me, they'll worry about that money a lot more than you do.
Wow.
She's telling me these things at 8, 9 years old.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And why I was special to my grandma was on Sundays we would come down and do the boat, and then we'd go back. She lived on 415 German Street.
Wow.
And we would all go. There were 7 Murphys. There were 3 cousins, and Grandpa Murphy would always give us a dime to run down to the corner store and get a bag of candy. You could get a little paper bag full of candy.
Yeah, for a dime.
Yeah, for a dime. And one Sunday I went down to the corner store, and I only got a nickel's worth of candy, and I got the nickel change. And I came back, and I went up to my grandma. I said, Grandma, you never get any candy. I said, and I handed her that nickel. You would not have believed. That nickel went right up on a plaque in the kitchen, taped up there, and I mean, she rubbed it into my brothers and sisters because this is my Timmy does for me, you know? And so I really believe that's why she shared some of these stories.
Yeah.
Although my oldest brother, Jack, knew some of the stories also, and he was, like I said, he was very helpful with the genealogy in the book.
Tim Murphy's with us, Murph the Surf. What was the hardest chapter to write of the book? What was the most either emotional or just you didn't want to go there as much?
I struggle with a number of chapters because I did not want to hurt people.
Yeah.
And nobody ever did a minute of time. I never opened my mouth. I was offered the Federal Witness Protection Program right down here in Erie County Jail. Wow. They came in first. JR got caught for they nabbed him for the armored car robbery, and they brought him in, and he needed $500,000 bail, and so he needed $50,000 cash, and I was going to get it tonight. We always had something in the works, and I made the mistake of doing something with a partner I'd never done before, and ended up, this is out of town, and went through a concrete block wall to get past the alarm system, was burned through a steel door and burning the safe. And first thing I hear is, come on out, we have you surrounded. And I was listening, no warning from my partner. I went out the back door. I run up a hill almost 75 feet going straight up, and I hear chuk, chuk. Wow. Unmistakable sound of a 12-gauge shotgun will get your attention. And I hit the deck, and I said, well, if he ain't shooting, I'm running. I got up and I ran for 6.5 hours. They chased me with bloodhounds, literally. I know what a hunted animal feels like. After 6.5 hours, they caught me in exhaustion and brought me back here to Erie, Pennsylvania. First, the state police come and question me one day. Next day, the FBI come and question me. The next day, Federal Organized Crime Task Force, because this is when the heyday of Erie was rocking and rolling. Yeah. And they came in with a piece of paper and sat in front of me and said, Mr. Murphy, you don't have to do another minute of time. You can sign this piece of paper and we can walk out of here right now. We will give you a new identity, change your location, give you a new life. All they wanted me to do is testify against a few well-known Sicilians in this town. And I said, what are you going to do for my mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers that have to live and breathe and walk on these streets? I said, these people off them one at a time to get at me. I said, I'll do my time, and did.
Wow.
And walked away. And but for the grace of God, do I live.
I just got a few more minutes with Tim Murphy here, and what do you want people to learn from your book? Again, some incredible stories as we're hearing here, but you want to read to the end, don't you?
Absolutely, and that's what I struggle with the end of this book forever, Joel.
Did you?
Oh yeah, and because I never wanted to use my son in a wheelchair as a crutch or anything like that, but there is a redemptive story. There is hope for anybody. You have not done anything that's so bad that you cannot be forgiven for. I really believe the penal system really has to reinstitute colleges and prison, because if you really want to change a man's life, you have to give him something to come out to change his life. And I was really in at the right time where I could, do the college credits and find out for myself that, hey, I can do this. Yeah. And when I got out, ended up getting a 2-year degree and really changed my life.
Was it being incarcerated that was able to have you get recovery from your addiction too?
Absolutely. It saved my life.
So really, that time in Attica was the life changer.
It
like in every level.
Absolutely. And you know what? You have to get alone with yourself. I believe God's got to remove everything from you. And I really did have to get busted up in New York State. I had nobody to rely on. If I was busted here in Erie, believe me, when I did time here in Erie, I knew the deputy superintendent. I had the best job at night. I did the laundry, had my own TV. It was as good as I could get there. But as long as you're in that environment, you're not going to change. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I really had to get removed where I had absolutely nothing except to look up, and that's what I did. And believe me, I'm not an angel, and I don't prescribe to be, or purport to be anything else. I'm a sinner in need of repentance daily, down on my knees. But I do know what the truth is, and I always try to help people if I can.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And again, celebrating 50 years of Academy High School, 1976.
Absolutely. Go Lions, baby.
I so greatly appreciate you telling your story.
Oh, I appreciate it more. Absolutely. This is almost a little dream come true.
Wonderful. And I think your buddy's waiting on you out there.
Oh, yeah. That's him.
Tim Murph the Surf Murphy, one-man crime spree. The Secret 7, so secret, don't know what the other 6 are, but they're coming. That's amazing. Again, available where you find books. Appreciate it very much, sir.
Thank you, Joel. I really appreciate it, and your wonderful staff here.
You got it. It is 7 in front of 5.